Hello, everybody, and welcome to IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. Lamborghini Super Trofeo is next.
Lamborghini Super Trofeo from America's Park of Speed, Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Welcome in, everyone. What a fantastic racetrack. 66 years, fans, drivers, teams have been flocking to this facility, and it has everything in the world you could possibly want. Today, it has Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America action, and the Raging Bulls about to take to the racetrack. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Brian Till, along with Jeremy Shaw. Just starting the second half of the 2021 season here at Road America, just north of Milwaukee. And it is quite the racetrack indeed. The longest circuit we'll run on all season long at 4 miles. Turn 1, approaching 170 miles an hour when the cars get to turn 1, turn 5, and a little less than that at Canada Corner. But those are also good passing zones. 5, 8 Canada Corner, heavy braking there, slowing these Lamborghinis down with their anti-lock braking system. You can get a move made there. It'll be interesting to see, too, these long straightaways, the top speeds, and just how well these very sleek machines draft. Jeremy, it should be a great one. What a way to start the second half. Cars behind the Lamborghini safety car as we get ready to start the second half of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North American season. Brian Till and Jeremy Shaw with you. Jeremy, it should be a good one here. Nothing more special than watching a Lamborghini around Road America.
Absolutely right, Brian. This is going to be a great race. This is round 7 Lamborghini Super Trofeo for 2021. As always, all running the same Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo chassis. We've got 22 cars. We've got 6 Pro cars, 5 Pro-Ams, 6 Ams, and 5 LB Cups. Unfortunately, 4 drivers will not be starting today's race after incidents yesterday. That's Bill Pelichewski, Michael Manella, and Bart Collins, and also Richard Antonucci, who is the overall championship leader, had an incident, and Tom Kerr also. Antonucci, however, will be driving a second car for Dream Racing. Let's look at the grid. 22nd position on the grid, Justin Price in car number 21. Alongside him on the 11th row grid is Scott Wellham in car number 82. Row 10, Matt Dickin in car number 36. Randy Solari in car number 03. Row 9, Terry Olsen, local driver, in car number 47. And Luke Berkeley in car number 23. Row 8, John Hennessy, who's the best place of the LB Cup contenders after practice, which sets the grid for today's race. Qualifying was rained out, so grid set by practice times in the first session yesterday. Alongside him is Gianni Torino in car number 88. Running this weekend, he's been bumped up from Am to Pro-Am. 2 Am cars on the 7th row grid. That's Trevor Andrusco in car number 38 and Alan Metney in car number 99. Row 6, Victor Gomez in car number 29, alongside Ashton Harrison in car number 25. Sebastian Carrazza will start in the 10th position in car number 71, making his debut this weekend in car number 71, a best of the Am contenders. Alongside him is Jordan Missig in car number 53. Row 4 is the Pro-Am Championship leader. That's Brian Ortiz in car number 46. Alongside Richard Antonucci, who stepped across to the sister car, the number 22 for Dream Racing Motorsports, alongside Dario Capitano, with whom he will share for the first time this season. Stephen McAleer in car number 16 will start 6th, alongside Stephen Argacani in car number 6. Number 61 is Max Wearing. It will start on the 4th position alongside Alec Udell in car number 48. The front row of the grid is the fastest of the Pro-Am cars. That's Loris Spinelli in car number 51 for Torino Racing. And on the pole position, having set the fastest time in that practice session yesterday, his first pole position in car number 1 for Wade and Taylor Racing from Costa Rica is young Danny Formal.
Well, this racetrack, Jeremy, thanks for going through the grid. It has everything in the world a race car driver wants. It's got long straightaways, so you've got good straight line speeds, heavy braking zones, 20 stories worth of elevation change up and down once you do a lap here at Road America. So it's got that. But the other thing, you alluded to it with those 4 cars not starting, it also will bite you in a hurry. And with the rain that we've had, if you get off in the grass today, you're going to probably either get stuck in a gravel trap or hit something.
Yeah, I'll choose the former over the latter, that's for sure. But some big incidents yesterday, a lot of damage, and it's certainly a shame to see those cars. We had 26 cars originally, but we have 22 starting. It's still going to be a very intense race.
Well, and some interesting stories when you talk about Richard Antonucci having to move and share a car because his was damaged. He's used to driving by himself. It's changed not really the complexion of the championship points as they sit right now, but the opportunities to gain points may be significant here today for other competitors as we're lined up, crawling up the front straight. This is an incredibly slow start. Kyle Marcelli, Danny Formal back in the series after a huge crash at Watkins Glen. And this is an incredibly slow start. Starter can't see the cars until they get up underneath the bridge. So we're getting ready to go. Marcelli on the left of screen, if you're watching it on a monitor, in that blue and black number 1. And it is a drag race to turn 1 right now. Spinelli outside in the red, white, and green side by side as they head to turn 1.
Yeah, and the experience there of Loris Spinelli, he's hanging on around the outside, but Danny Formal there, for somebody who hasn't done an awful lot of car racing, he was an absolute superstar in karting. The last couple of years he's made the move into car racing on a proper basis with this Answer Motorsports team. With Answer Motorsports last year, stepping across to Wayne Taylor Racing this season, taking full advantage of that team's experience, and in the lead is Danny Formal, with right behind him Loris Spinelli.
I think you need to really keep your eye on the 22. That houses our championship leader, Richard Antonucci, this weekend. You were alluding to the fact that he damaged his 27 car, so he's sharing now the 22 with Dario Capitano, and it'll be interesting to see as he makes a move going up the hill into 6th, that purple Bitbull, number 22. Antonucci known for being very, very aggressive at the start, but seems to have gotten hung up just a little bit. Stephen McAleer with a great jump in the 16.
Yeah, but what a jump there by Antonucci. He dived past Stephen Agacani at top of the hill into turn 6. He also got to move another position there past Stephen McAleer as well. So Richard Antonucci in that caliber 22 is absolutely charging right now. He's a points leader coming into this weekend, ahead of Stephen McAleer by 14 points in the pro category.
And McAleer 2 spots ahead of Antonucci on the racetrack, running in light number 16 with the Bud Light sponsorship on it as they head down to Canada Corner. And this is important for McAleer. If he can stay ahead of the 22, he and Jerome Newell, that will help close down that gap in the championship, that lead that Antonucci has right now. Remember, 4 different classes in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo action. A little nudge there, the 48, Alec Udell gets collected by the 61, Max Weirting, as they came on the front straightaway. Just a little bit of contact, but that's enough to send Udell out into the grass.
And going to lose a lot of momentum there, a lot of places as well for Alec Udell. Now look here, see what happened. There's a car that dived to the inside. That's Agacani, who dived to the inside into turn 14. Didn't really leave much options there for Alec Udell, who slithers off into the grass. So Agacani then will cross the line in 7th position. Complete lap 1. He started in the 5th place, so he lost a couple of places on that last lap, but gained 1 back in that final corner. It's still Danny Formal who leads over Loris Spinelli, and Spinelli, he's driving in the Pro-Am category. He was sharing that number 51 car for Torino Racing with his regular co-driver Claude Signoretti, and he will not be as quick as Loris Spinelli, but Loris Spinelli, he's been just super fast. The Italian driver, 25 years of age, has a lot of success in Lamborghinis.
Antonucci now taking the fight to Max Wearing in the black and gold, number 61, as they head down the hill towards turn 8, towards the braking zone. Antonucci looks right, looks left, trying to find a way by. Nothing doing in the brake zone right now. And apologies to Wearing, misidentified him. I did in that incident with Alec Udell. Like you said, it was Stephen Agacani, but we don't have a really good shot into turn 14. It looked like they were side by side at one point in time. I don't know if Agacani got on the curb or just kind of ran out of real estate as they got towards the apex. The officials may look at that, but that may just be called a racing incident there in turn 14. Meanwhile, back up towards the front, Antonucci wants to get past Wearing, and I gotta
hats off to Danny Formal.
The job that he is doing right now, staying ahead of Laura Spinelli, and we talked about the fact that the one
did not come into the huge crash that was able to continue significantly in that incident as well. High-speed impact, some type of mechanical failure up through the S's. And good to see them back, and not only back, but in very, very fast form.
And Danny Formal really is doing a nice job. The 25-year-old here, as I say, an absolute standout in karting for many, many years. A three-time winner of the SCUSA Supernats in 2015, 16, and 19. He's done some racing before, particularly in touring cars, but last year he got the opportunity to move into Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Laura Spinelli, by contrast, has a lot more car racing experience. He's done open wheel racing and he's done a lot of Lamborghini racing as well. So for Danny Formal to be holding on here and really holding his own, these two edging away from Stephen McAleer in third position. This is a really fine performance by this youngster in the lead of this race, Danny Formal.
Nice to see such talent in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo as they come into the weekend looking for the 100th race in this series. That will happen in the doubleheader, the second race of the doubleheader tomorrow, as Antonucci seems to have kind of lost the battle a little bit, has dropped back just a little bit from Max Wearing in front. And it's interesting, a lot of these cars, you've got to think, for a driver like Richard Antonucci, who is used to going it on his own, he drives in this series as the single driver in his car. You wonder if perhaps he and his teammate don't really share the same preference as far as car setup goes. So this is a new machine for Richard Antonucci, and he's going to have to adapt to that a little bit. And speaking of that, Jeremy, it's really kind of the same thing for Laura Spinelli. That car, the 51, running second, was significantly damaged yesterday in a crash at the kink. And so you wonder how long it's going to take before they really got to have a really good feel of how that 51's going. And to some extent, they dodged the bullet, because had they qualified, this car would have not been ready to go, and they would have had to start at the back. But since qualifying was wiped out and they went off practice times, they were able to use that time and start up on the front row.
Yeah, right. A tremendous amount of work by that Torino Racing team to get that car in the race after that incident yesterday, and given the fact, of course, they've had no time to check out the car after that pretty hefty rebuild. What a good job there Laura Spinelli is doing. Stephen McAleer, he's got running a relatively lonely third place now for Change Racing. We've got 6, 7 different teams in the top 7 positions at the moment. Wayne Taylor Racing leads from Torino Racing, from Change Racing, from MCR Racing, from Dream Racing Motorsports, then Precision Performance Motorsports and O'Gara Motorsports from US Racetronics. So it's super to see that equality amongst the teams here in Lamborghini Super Trofeo.
Well, it's going to be interesting. This could be a big points day, a good points day for Stephen McAleer, who runs third on the racetrack. He is second in the championship. Richard Antonucci now 2 cars back. And when you think about the driver changes that are going to happen during the pit stop, for one thing, Antonucci's going to have to do a driver change, which he's not used to doing. But Jerome Mule, who'll take over for Stephen McAleer, very talented race car driver. And if they can stay in front till the pit stop, it may be very difficult for Dario Capitano to get past Mule. I mean, Mule with significant experience in Lamborghinis.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, these are 2 of the most experienced drivers in Lamborghinis, along, of course, with Richard Antonucci, and also not driving at the moment, but the most experienced driver in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. You talked about the fact that tomorrow will be the 100th race since the formation of this championship back in 2014. But Brandon Godovic has the most starts on 73. Richard Antonucci, who is driving that 5th place car, number 22, he's got 57 starts in this championship.
Up the front straightaway again, approaching 165, 170 miles an hour at the end of the long straightaways. And that's the unique thing about Road America. 88% of the 4 miles of racetrack here is in straightaway. So it just gives you an idea of how you can really stretch the legs of these Raging Bulls, these Lamborghini Huracan Evos, and it's just amazing to me to think that these are essentially street-type cars that are capable of producing this type of performance, and it's so much fun to watch here at Road America.
It is cool, isn't it? I mean, it's just a fabulous machinery out there around these V10 engine cars. They are super fast. They have good aerodynamics. They have great brakes as well, as we see there. Danny Formal very late on the brakes down into turn 5, and he's maintaining that gap. It's less than a second between the two leaders, but and his third place, to be fair, Stephen McAleer is absolutely immaculate. He might have lost maybe less than a tenth of a second last time around, so the top three very, very close. Further back down the order, it's Matt Dickin on the outside of Ashton Harrison, trying to make the move for second position in the AM class. Not just right in there as well as Sebastian Carrazzo, so some super battling there a little bit further down the order, battle for 11th and 12th.
Ashton Harrison had some really good lap times in both of the practice sessions. She was quickest in the first practice session, I believe, and I think the time that she is spending around the Wayne Taylor Racing organization with their prototype and the engineers that are there, as you look at this side by side up the hill to turn 6, she's not afraid to mix it up with the other competitors that are out there, and being around an organization such as Wayne Taylor and the Konica Minolta team that runs in the IMSA WeatherTech Championship in racing and in engineering a race car and what it is that you need to do, how you need to think as a race car driver. She's got 2 very good race car drivers.
He did. I got a little bit confused there because that car, it was actually Sebastian Carrazzo that she was passing, so that was for the lead in AM. Carrazzo running a car that's almost identically liveried to the one of Matt Dickin, who's a little bit further down the order, running 3rd in LB Cup. So Ashton Harrison now leads in the AM class in 9th position overall in Carnival 25. Super job by Ashton there. She's probably one of her best drivers so far. She's got a fair bit of experience now in these cars and is using that to excellent effect here this afternoon at Road America. As the two leaders, they remain separated by just a few tenths of a second.
Well, you think about that, Jeremy, when you have other cars underneath your tent that might be running in different classes, it's one of those things that you can go to those other drivers, but for Ashton Harrison, and as I was saying, to be able to lean on the engineering program that's there at Wayne Taylor Racing and their Konica Minolta DPI, it gives her an even more in-depth look at racing in general, and I think she's putting that education to good use.
I'd absolutely say that she is, and in that prestige performance car for Wayne Taylor Racing, running in the 9th position overall for Ashton Harrison at this stage in the race. She had a best overall finish actually of 4th last year, but this is a good strong run for her. That was a variety of reasons she was able to finish in the 4th position there, but certainly it's been a really good run in this Harrison Contracting Wayne Taylor Racing entry car number 25. That's Ashton Harrison.
Yeah, she's been doing a great
from Carrazzo, yeah.
And she's been doing a great job all season long. Remember, she got her first win at COTA in round 2 of the season. So certainly somebody who knows how to run up front. She's doing that right now. And as we saw moments ago, as you pointed out, certainly not afraid to mix it up. And Carrazzo, a very talented youngster as well, who runs in another single make series in the IMSA family. So a very talented young driver, but new to this Lamborghini. And you and I have seen this, Jeremy, throughout the season. It takes a while to get used to this platform. It's very different than a lot of these drivers have been in before.
Well, it really is. You're right. I mean, a lot of horsepower in these cars, certainly. I mean, they're super fast on the straights, but Sebastian Carrazzo, who's making his debut this weekend in this championship, sharing with his father, Ramses, by the way. That's a kind of a cool story. The two from Puerto Rico, running now just at the end of the top 10, Sebastian, and behind Carrazzo is Trevor Androsco, who's got a lot of experience in these cars. Also Alan Metney, so that is a battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th with with Ashton Harrison pulling away just a little bit, but the rest of these guys are battling for that second position in AM. Alan Metney is in there, and Gianni Torino too, who's running this weekend in the Pro-Am class. He's been an AM up until now. Unfortunately, he's having to make up for some problems. There's some fuel feed difficulties in that car yesterday in the practice session. So car number 88, Gianni Torino, is having to try and work his way through the field.
Well, and bad luck for Victor Gomez in the 29, flat right front tire. He had to make a pit stop and to add a little insult to that injury, speeding on pit lane. So there'll be a penalty that gets applied there as well. So not the day that he wants, as he's second in the championship, and he's trying to close down on Brandon Godovic and Brian Ortiz, who sit just 7 points ahead of him in the championship fight there in the Pro-Am category. So not a good day, at least so far, for Victor Gomez. You could get a full course caution and kind of get back in the battle, but as it sits right now, not the day that Gomez wanted to have.
No, it's not, is it? And that's very disappointing for him here, having had he's last year's AM champion, and he's got a lot of work to do from that lower position. Meanwhile, in LB Cup, it is the number 33 of John Hennessy, who's pulled out a pretty extensive lead now over Terry Olson in second position. John Hennessy from Southern California, driving the O'Gara Motorsport with the US Racetronics entry car number 33. He hasn't done all of the races this season, but certainly making a strong return here in car number 33 and running in the 17th position overall, leader of LB Cup.
I mean, John Hennessy has almost been conspicuous in his absence. He showed up at COTA and didn't have a great weekend. The car got damaged there, and then we didn't see him at the next two rounds. We didn't see him at VIR. We didn't see him at Watkins Glen. And I don't know what he's been doing, but it looks like he must have been spending some time on the simulator, because he led the LB Cup in both of the practice sessions. And since the drop of the green, he has checked out on the rest of the LB Cup family. Terry Olson now in second, Matt Dickin in third, but John Hennessy in that blue and gold number 33 has just begun to leave the rest of the LB Cup field in the dust. He's almost to turn 5, and I think second in the category, just exited turn 3.
Yeah, he's long gone there in the lead of that class, and he has as you say, an occasional competitor. This is just his fourth weekend in these cars, fifth weekend in these cars, I guess. He's had 7 starts before. He's formerly a commercial fisherman in the previous lifetime. Then went on to set up a demolition business up in the northeast of the United States. He's from Seattle, Washington, and John Hennessy leads that LB Cup category. LB Cup, the Lamborghini Cup, that's for drivers who are a lot less experienced than the most of the contenders in this field.
They still do a great job, and the thing that I love about Lamborghini Super Trofeo is that all of the cars are exactly the same. It doesn't matter whether it's a pro category car or an LB Cup car. They're not detuned for the less experienced drivers. They are all the exact same car, and I think that's the thing that's interesting. You and I have spoken about this before, Jeremy. It's like learning to fly, but doing it with the Thunderbirds, because you're not learning to fly in a Cessna, you're learning to fly in the fastest machinery that there is. And for these LB Cup competitors, it's the same thing. Back up front, talk about flying. Danny Formal out in front, still has Laura Spinelli right behind him. Stephen McAleer has settled into third, about 3.5 seconds back. As leaders head down to turn 5, McAleer hasn't lost sight of the leaders yet. He's extended his lead over 4th place on the racetrack, which is Max Weering, but he's losing ground to those 2 cars up front. It'll be interesting to see if they can claw that back a little bit, or if that's just the best race car that he has. But speaking of that, we were talking about changes. The car that Jerome Mull and Stephen McAleer are piloting this weekend is not the same car that they've been running all season long, so they've had to adapt to a new chassis.
They have, yeah, that's right. That's a long story. That one, not quite sure we've got time to tell that one in total, but it is a different car. But he's running very nicely there in the 3rd position. Just beginning to lose a little bit of ground over the last few laps to the top 2. Danny Formal and Loris Spinelli, they're definitely edging clear at the front. The gap back to third place was about a second and a half. Now it's closer to 4 seconds this time around. So that Bud Light car in the third position might look the same as the one before, but he's getting good championship points here. Is Stephen McAleer. He comes into this weekend with a 14-point deficit to Richard Antonucci, but he is 2 positions ahead of Antonucci in this race. Antonucci is driving number 22 car with Dario Capitano after crashing his primary car yesterday, but Antonucci just cannot find a way past Max Wearing, who's running in 4th place.
One of the great things about Lamborghini Super Trofeo is there's always some excitement. What do you think a mirror costs on one of these Lamborghinis? Because the 71 Carrazzo just lost one in that fight with Alan Metney in the 99 as they headed down into turn 3. That's just how close the racing is. And that mirror is in a gravel trap. They're going to want to know where that one is.
Yeah, I think you're right. Last time around, 2 minutes 9.1 for our racer Danny Formal, and Loris Spinelli are holding right with him there. We've got just about 30 minutes remaining in this race, and there is a mandatory pit stop for all of the contenders in all 4 classes. That can be made at any time after now, basically. It's with 20 minutes gone in the race to 30 minutes into the race. They have to make a mandatory pit stop. Some of the drivers, some of the cars have solo drivers who do the whole distance, including led by the 3rd place car of Stephen McAleer. Most of the other contenders up front, however, have 2 driver cars, so they will hand over that car during the pit stop to their co-driver for the second half of the race.
It was Richard Antonucci that was pressuring Max Wearing in the black and gold number 61 earlier, but now Antonucci has gotten past, and he is the first car in line behind McAleer. But now Stephen Agacani wants to get a piece of the 61, the 6 right there behind the 61, and a little bit of damage to the dive plane on Agacani's Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo. And that could affect some of the downforce, especially through the carousel that they just exited, and the kink, the higher speed corners, I would think turn 7 as well. These cars very aerodynamic, and every bit on that car is on for a reason, as the 47 is in for their pit stop.
Yeah, that is Terry Olsen here, who grew up here close to Road America, so he kind of considered it his home track. But this is his first season of racing in a Lamborghini Super Trofeo. He will be sharing that number 47 car for Precision Performance Motorsports with Mark Kawami, who's driven all sorts of cars over the last several years. And they come into this weekend on a streak of 4 successive wins in LB Cup and got a 15-point edge over Matt Dickin in that LB Cup season-long championship.
Leader is on pit road, the number 1, Danny Formal. He'll hand over to Kyle Marcelli. Marcelli very, very quick at this racetrack, and anything that he's ever been in has found success here. And again, trying to make up for the weekend that they didn't actually have at Watkins Glen after the big crash that they had there. Be interesting to see how Marcelli adapts to this Lamborghini. McAleer in as well in the 16. Danny Formal, what a great job. You talked about his karting experience. He's training for another big karting event he has coming up here very soon. He said he's really trying to lose some weight, get in shape, and get ready for it. And that preparation physically for the karting is going to help him in the car as well.
It is, and it's a workout today. It's pretty hot and humid today. There's certainly rain not too far away, but it's staying dry at the moment. But these cars certainly are pretty physical. They do have power steering and various other kind of driver aids on them as well, but still they are a handful to drive. This is a lot of race car, particularly for these LB Cup contenders who really don't have much racing experience at all under their belt. But here is our LB Cup leader. There's John Hennessy making that stop for the O'Gara Motorsport US Racetronics team in car number 33.
99-second pit stop if you're doing a driver change. It's a 102-second pit stop if it is a single driver format, and that is from the time they cross the beam at pit in until they cross the beam at pit out. And we say this in just about every race. It seems odd that pit stop time is different, but when you think about it, Jeremy, it really makes a lot of sense. in the 2-driver format, that new driver has to go out and discover the car and discover the racetrack. He's not warmed up. The 1-driver format, you've already been out there. You know what you've got. You know what the racetrack is like. So there's a little bit of a penalty, if you will, if you elect to do that 1-driver format.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's if you've already done the first half of this race, you know exactly how that car is handling, you know exactly how much grip there is on the track. There's a spin for car number 82. That was the 4th place car in LB Cup. Scott Wellemer, I think, had not made a pit stop up until this point. He's looped that car at the exit of turn 5. No damage, but he is pointing in a wrong direction.
It just loses it at the apex. The car comes around, and for those sitting beside the racetrack or watching at home, you think, well, these cars have traction control and they have anti-lock brakes. How can you spin a car at the apex? Well, physics is physics, and if you carry too much speed in, and even with the traction control, the sophisticated traction control system that exists on these cars, if it is beyond the limit of adhesion, traction control isn't going to get it back. And so perhaps just a little bit too much speed, maybe a breathe off of the gas at the apex there, and around Wellman went. Wellman having a reasonable season. He's been in the top 5. He's 4th in points right now, but little excursions like that don't help you when you're trying to chase down a few more points. And pit road now very, very busy.
It is, and that pit stop window, 99 seconds from pit in to pit out. It's not the time they have to be stationary. It's from when they cross the timing line coming into the pits to when they cross the timing line at the exit of the pits. And these cars all have sophisticated data systems on board, so the drivers know when they leave their pit stall how long it is from there to the pit exit lights and timing line. So they know exactly when to leave the pit box to get there without getting there before that minimum pit stop time elapses.
Dario Capitano now in the 22 and out on the racetrack. Their stop is done. I believe Spinelli will be shown out of the 51 when they cross the line. Or he's still on the racetrack.
Yes, so he's much quicker than Claude Signoretti, so he's going to stay out there as long as he possibly can. He's still got 4 minutes before he needs to make a pit stop, so he can do. It's going to be marginal whether he can do 2 more laps. He can certainly do one this lap, and I think he could probably just about do 1 more as well. But it will be tight, and you want to make sure you get in before that pit line, before that the pit window closes with just 20 minutes remaining in this race. Just looking at the pit stop times, by the way, and car number 46, that's Brandon Godovic, who's currently running 2nd in the Pro-Am class behind the car that leads overall, having not yet made a stop. That's Loris Spinelli. It's shown here as 1 minute 38. That would be 98 seconds. The minimum pit stop time is 39 seconds. So we'll keep our eyes open there. Maybe there will be a penalty for that number 46 car. If it's less than a second, then the penalty is pretty minimal. It's just it's twice as much as the time under which you were from the minimum pit stop time. If it's more than a second, then it's a stop and go. You've got to come in and make another pit stop. But that's very, very costly.
Very costly indeed. And I got the 51 and the 88 confused. The 88, the team car with Giano Torino, was coming down pit lane as the 51 was coming up the front straightaway. So those cars almost identical as far as the paint schemes go. But be interesting to see how this settles out. And I was actually surprised to not see Richard Antonucci stretch his drive time as far as he could. And this is not good news at all. The 22 off. Can he get out of the gravel? Out of the gravel he goes, but is the left rear down? I can't.
Is it even there?
Yeah, is it even there? That's not good news for Richard Antonucci.
No,
it's not there.
Whoops.
That's where you want to have it happen for numerous reasons. So the left rear has departed the 22 just as the car was turning in to turn 14 onto the front straightaway. Off the road they go, but able to get the car, keep the car rolling, get it into pit lane, and hopefully get that taken care of, because if that had happened a mile and a half back down the road, that would have been at the entry to the kink, and that would have been disastrous.
It certainly would, and yes, that's so good news and bad news there. That was Dario Capitano, so he'd already handed that car over, so the car did pretty much a complete lap before that left rear wheel parted company with the number 22 car. So most unfortunate for that Dream Racing Motorsport team, and I think very wisely here, the number 51 and the number 38, which were two of the three cars that had not yet pitted, have come onto pit lane now to hand over to their respective co-drivers. Laura Spinelli in to hand over to Claude Signoretti, Trevor Andrusco in car number 38 to hand over to Scott Schmidt. Randy Solari, however, stayed out. And the reason I say that was a good call, if we'd have got a full course caution there, the pits would have been closed and they would potentially have missed the opportunity to take their pit stop within that pit stop window between 20 and 30 minutes into the race. So Randy Solari, by staying out here and leading, took a bit of a gamble there. If it had gone full course caution, he would not have been able to make a pit stop during the caution period. Have to wait till afterwards, and that would be outside the window. And even though the caution wasn't his fault, he certainly had plenty of opportunity to bring that car into the pit lane. So it looks like he's in luck. He's going to be able to carry around, although there's only
I don't think he's going to make it.
I don't think he's going to make it, actually. You're right, because he was a long way behind Loris Spinelli. Spinelli could have probably made it, but I don't think Randy is going to. So that could be a bit of a faux pas there for Wayne Taylor Racing in the car that currently leads the AM category, but has not yet made a pit stop.
Well, rain threatening and not far away. Some reports say 10 minutes, some say 20. And there's just under 20 minutes to go in this race, so the end could be damp. Now, the thing that's interesting to me about the 99 or the 22, Jeremy, and that wheel is they don't typically change tires on pit stops. And on most pit stops, there's a crew member with a torque wrench that comes and checks the torque of the wheel nut to make sure that the wheels are tight. So the idea that wheel came off is a little surprising to me to begin with. I wonder if the hub on the 22 is damaged, and if it is, and they can't continue on, that's going to be a big points day for the 16 of Stephen McAleer, and a bad points day for your championship leader, Richard Antonucci.
Yeah, that's going to close things up considerably, isn't it, overall? And yeah, there were in this race there were 6 pro entries. They score points according to their driver category rather than the overall positions. But certainly for Antonucci, who's sharing that number 22 car, that's exactly what he did not need. And here now comes Randy Solari onto the pit lane, but with only 18 minutes and change remaining in this race, I don't think he's going to met that to drive the pit lane window to make that stop sign. I fancy it might be another drive-through penalty for the 0-3, but it's still the number 51 car that's shown in the lead. No, it's Randy Solari who will lead this lap as he comes onto pit lane to complete lap 14. In second place on the road, I think it's still going to be Claude Signoretti who's come across the line now. However, no, it's Kyle Marcelli in car number 1. He's taken over from Danny Formal, and as we can see, he's got a pretty handy lead over Jerome Moule in second position. Behind him in third position on the road, that is Claude Signoretti in car number 51. That is a battle for position, but Signoretti still does lead the Pro-Am class by about 14 seconds over Brandon Godovic. Between them on the road is Jacob Edson, who's running third in Pro-Am and fourth overall at the moment. That's car number 6 for O'Gara Motorsport with US Racetronics.
It'll be interesting to see what Jerome Moule in the 16 can do as he has his sights set on Kyle Marcelli, the leader right now. He's about 6 seconds behind him, 5.5 seconds behind him on the racetrack. We'll see and keep an eye on lap times to see if he can cut into that. He was about a half a second faster, Jerome Moule was that time by, than was Kyle Marcelli. If they could get to the point and the 16 could win this race, Dario Capitano being shown a lap down after having that left rear wheel depart, it could be a big point swing in the pro category today. It could really close up that championship.
Well, it really could. And in LB Cup, I'm not quite sure what happened in LB Cup either, because where's the Mark Kwame is down in 4th position now. So John Hennessy, having just made his pit stop in that number 33, he's maintained a very handy lead over 2nd place in the LB Cup category. But we saw earlier on, or we heard earlier on, with the puncture for car number 29, that was Victor Gomez. He's also compounded that problem because he served a penalty also for a pit lane speed violation as well. So car number 29 is quite a long way down the order. He's in 20th position overall and 5th in Pro-Am.
Marcelli trying to get past Mark Kwame in the 47 as they come to the front straightaway. That's going to hold up Marcelli a little bit. And Jerome Moll really closing the gap. He's in the picture now, literally in the picture, as Marcelli gets by Kwame up the front straightaway. It was about 5.5 seconds worth of lead last time by. It's now 3.7, so 2 seconds out of Kyle Marcelli's lead. Did Jerome Moll take that lap?
Yeah, that's a big stride forward, isn't it, for Jerome Moll. And Jacob Edson, he's about 7 seconds behind Jerome Moll. He's still got to get past Claude Signoretti, but he's running the same pace, pretty much the same lap times turned by Signoretti in column 51 and Edson, by Jerome Moll and Edson last time around. Max Waring, he's another 9 seconds back in the 5th position overall, 4th in Pro in car number 61.
And with the pit stop for Randy Solari, we would expect a penalty at some point in time. Ashton Harrison now leading in the AM category. She wants to make it 2 wins on the season. We talked about what a great job she is doing. That prestige performance from Wayne Taylor Racing, number 1, still up in front, but Jerome Moll beginning to bring the pressure. A good run, the 46 of Brandon Godovic. They lead their championship, the Pro-Am category. Laura Spinelli still being shown leading in that category on the racetrack. But as we get to the second half of the season, these championships, you begin as a race car driver, or you should begin as a race car driver, to analyze where you are in the championship. And you've got to know whether you need to dig and really press, whether you need to maintain, or whether you can relax a little bit. I don't think you ever really want to relax, Jeremy, but at times you've got to really press to make up ground that you're missing, and at other times you need to understand what you've got and protect that lead just a little bit. Let's see, speaking of leads, what Kyle Marcelli has at the line this time as he comes up the front straightaway in that number 1. We'll have to see what Jerome Moll has been able to do. I think Marcelli really hung up in traffic that last time by, and in fact, he answers back. I think Jerome Moll may have been hung in traffic that lap because Kyle Marcelli gets a 1.5 seconds back.
Yeah, so that's he's certainly right in shit. Well, a big slide in turn 1 there, carrying a lot of speed through turn 1 was Kyle Marcelli in his Bud Light car for Wayne Taylor Racing in the lead of this race, and looking for that team's first win of the season. That car, the best position they've had so far. They've had a couple of thirds, and as you say, a big crash last time out at Road America. Didn't even make the start in a second race at Watkins Glen, but making up for that now. And it's a really good effort here by Kyle Marcelli. A lot of success, a lot of different cars, looking for his first win in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, with now just over 12.5 minutes remaining in this race.
Kyle has such a good attitude, such a professional attitude, and that's what you need as a professional race car driver. He said before this weekend, he said, look, the crash at Watkins Glen, and it was not their fault. The crash at Watkins Glen really kind of has taken us out of any hope for the championship. So what we want to focus on right now is winning races. We want to go out, do the best job that we can, and win races and show people what we can do. And that's exactly what they have done this weekend. It's exactly what he's doing right now. And as we look down the racetrack, we know that he was able to pull back to 5.5 seconds, almost 5.5 seconds with the lead the last time by. And I think Jerome Moll has now gotten caught in traffic down the back straightaway through the kink, so Marcelli may have a little bit more in hand when he gets to the line this time by. Time running out, though, for Jerome Moll, just over 11 minutes to go, but we still have Mother Nature that we might have to contend with, Jeremy.
Yeah, indeed we do. And number 03 car, I think, has just been into the pits. I believe that was for a penalty for staying out too long before making his mandatory stop. So that's going to cost Randy Saleri some time. But Carl Marcelli is still leading this race, and the gap between first and second, 5.2 seconds. So almost identical lap times last time around for Carl Marcelli, who turns a 1 minute 10.8 in the lead of this race. Jerome Bull in second position. In third position, Jacob Edson actually was the quickest of those three, well, almost identical time actually to Jerome Bull in second position. So very closely matched, those top three, and they're pulled well away now from the fourth place car, which has got now a new Pro-Am leader with Claude Signoretti. He fell behind both Jordan Missig and Brandon Godovic in car number 46. So it's now number 53 car, Jordan Missig, a local driver from Chicago area, who is up into now fourth position, just ahead of Brandon Godovic, who's one of the most experienced drivers in this field. Godovic has taken over from Brian Ortiz at the wheel of car number 46, but Jordan Missig has closed him down and made the pass for position for Wayne Taylor Racing in Pro-Am in car number 53, now fourth position overall.
Waving yellow in turn 6,
That's,
Mark Kwame.
Yeah, the other PPM car.
Yeah,
that's the team car of Mark Kwame, who leads the LB Cup category, having won 4 races in a row in LB Cup coming into this weekend. But it's all gone wrong there for Mark. He's got a spin at
all on his own at turn 6.
Yep.
And turn 6 is a really challenging corner. You come up the hill, and just about the time you want to turn the wheel to enter the corner, the car gets light because of the crest of the hill. You kind of get to the plateau. A lot of times when these cars spin, it takes a while to get them restarted. You'll see some fire out of the exhaust. All that is excess fuel that's been dumped into the exhaust system when the car spun. And so that fuel ignites as they try to restart it. And at the line this time by, Jerome Moule answers back. He's now a second faster this time by. And these guys that are closing have their hands full, Jeremy. The tires are worn. This racetrack will really take the life out of the left side tires. And these tires are worn. The brakes are worn. The tires are worn. And these finishing drivers are out there with something that really doesn't want to go much further, but they've got to go for another right at 8.5 minutes, and the rain is only about 8 to 10 miles away the last time I looked at the radar, so it still could get damp here in these closing laps.
Oh, yikes, that's going to be a heart in the mouth moment for these guys on slick tires. That's still Mark Kwame. I don't think he's got that car going yet at top of the hill at turn 6. He's still pointing in the wrong direction there and slipping further down the order, so it's not going to be 5 LB Cup wins in a row for that team. They're going to lose some ground in the championship, now down into the they're running last now on the red. He was already a lap down before that spin.
4 seconds in hand Kyle Marcelli had last time by at the line. Jordan Missig, his return to the series in Pro-Am, missed the last round, and this is by far his best performance. The 23-year-old is spending a lot of time in Formula Regionals, and taking that open wheel experience, and Jeremy, we've seen this before, taking that open wheel experience and applying it in sports cars, and it really seems to be working. He's doing really well right now in the Formula Regionals Championship. He's 5th in that championship with 4 podiums. He had a 2nd at Road Atlanta, and he's taking that experience and applying it here in Lamborghini Super Trofeo.
He is, and he's really doing a nice job there as well. Our race leader, there is Jordan Missig. He's coming into Canada corner. He's to be ahead of Brandon Godovic, who is the most experienced driver in this championship. I mentioned it a little while ago. 73 starts previously in Lamborghini Super Trofeo out of the 98 previous races. So he's been around for the vast majority of them. But Jordan Missig, the youngster here in car number 53 from Joliet, Illinois, so in the Chicago area, just 23 years of age. This is his first season of sports car racing. He's also racing in the the Formula Regional Americas Championship as well. He's had some podium finishes in that, including a run here at Road America earlier in the season. So taking advantage of that experience is Jordan Missick, and he's handing it here to Brandon Godovic, who's pushing the envelope really hard in that second position in the class, and 5th place overall. That's car number 46, Brandon Godovic.
Think about how different the cars must be, though. A Formula Regional Americas car, open wheel car, wings, a lot of downforce, good grip, good power to weight ratio, and then you step in an enclosed Lamborghini Super Trofeo Huracan Evo with traction control, anti-lock brakes, enclosed cockpit, heavier car. I mean, it's a big change, but I think coming to a racetrack like this is probably beneficial, Jeremy, because this is a more flowing racetrack. You don't have to throw the car. It's not a tight circuit or anything. If I was going to go back to back in one, I think this would be the racetrack I'd want to go to.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I mean, apart from those differences, they're very similar, i.e. they're not similar at all. You're absolutely right. But he's adapted super well here, has Jordan Missick, and he's stretched that lead over Brandon Godovic for the Pro-Am win. And that would be Jordan's first win in the Pro-Am class. He comes into, as you say, he hasn't done all of the races, just did the first 2 weekends, so he missed out on the race at Road America, at Watkins Glen, because of a clash. But he has had one 3rd place finish on his debut. That was the first race of the season at Circuit of the Americas, but looking now potentially at scoring his first win overall as well.
And we were talking about where you sit in the championship, and I think the thing that's important to note is for a driver like Brandon Godovic, you talk about the experience that he has, and we're watching him really wring the neck of that number 46 Precision Performance Motorsports Lamborghini Palm Beach entry. And for Godovic, he just needs to understand, and I'm sure he does with the experience that he has, this is the car that I have today, and I'm probably not going to get past that car in front of me. Yeah, you want to press. Yeah, you want to keep doing the best job that you can, but what's important to him is the 4 wins that he and Brian Ortiz have, that 3rd place finish, that 4th place finish. That's what has them in the championship lead. Don't throw that away by making an overly aggressive move on a driver who hasn't been here for the whole season. So you've got to really think through that and be smart with the decisions that you make. Jerome Moule, very smart with a decision he made there in turn 5 and the 71 of Carrazzo, letting him by, and that was good for Jerome Moule, now just 3.75 seconds behind leader Kyle Marcelli.
Yeah, so it's pick your battles. That's the key, isn't it? Here, don't push too hard if you don't need to. And Brandon Godovic, he wants to win another race. Of course he does. But looking at the big picture, he's sharing the car this season with Brian Ortiz, who's from Puerto Rico, and they've got a 13-point championship lead coming into this race. Victor Gomez, he's had that problems with the pit stop earlier on with a puncture and a drive-through penalty as well. So even with a 2nd place finish, that is going to enable Brandon Godovic and Brian Ortiz to extend their championship lead going into round 8 out of 12 tomorrow.
Rain just now about 4 or 5 miles to the west, and it is moving east in a hurry. Kyle Marcelli in a hurry as well. He wants to see the checkered flag. This would be a huge, huge win for he and his teammate after the problems they had at Watkins Glen, and it should be just closing down on 250. They're going to need to do 2 more laps this time by, and a problem for the 71. Ramses Carrazzo has spun off. He'll get his 71 restarted. Marcelli, 8 miles to go.
Yeah, that's right. 2 more laps and it'll be white flag next time around. And a couple of slower cars ahead of Kyle Marcelli, but that gap back to 2nd place, it changed by only 1/10 of a second last time around, 3.6 seconds as they cross the line to complete lap 21. And that's a pretty comfortable lead for Kyle Marcelli. With somebody of his experience, that should be just fine going into the closing couple of laps of this race. No need to panic for the Canadian Kyle Marcelli.
Well, I don't know, Jeremy. I'm starting to get a little worried as I watch Jerome Moule begin to move up on the rear wing, because Kyle Marcelli right now has 2 Lamborghinis in front of him that he's going to have to work by. Gets hung up just a little bit in turn 6, and I think Moule could sense it. He pressed a little hard over the hill into 6, washed off the apex, lost a little time. Marcelli may get 1 in the braking zone down to turn 8. In fact, he does, past the 21 of Price. But now he's got another Lamborghini in front of him. That will have held him up. But did Jerome Moule get over aggressive and lose the opportunity to gain time?
Well, yeah, good, very good point there, certainly. But he's got to be. He's got so much experience here. He knows he doesn't need to push super hard at this stage, so he can afford, I think, to take it easy. He's still got about 3 seconds. He's going to make a move here on the inside of that's Matt Dickin, isn't it, going into that Canada corner, and he makes that pass nice and cleanly. Yeah, Matt Dickin, who's running 2nd position in LB Cup. He's about half a minute behind John Hennessy, who's way gone out front. But Kyle Marcelli makes that move through, not for overall position. He's able to maintain his edge. He's going to lead by about a couple of seconds going into the final lap.
Traffic giveth and it taketh away for Kyle Marcelli. He got held up a little bit in the traffic, but then he left that traffic for Jerome Moule to have to deal with. But Moule still able to make some time. Now just 2.39 seconds between the leader and 2nd place. Is there any more traffic Marcelli will have to deal with? John Hennessy having the day that he wanted to have, the day that he hoped of. He's had a great return and leads in the LB Cup category, as you say, and now Jerome Moule having to deal with Matt Dickin. Gets a little bit of a draft off of him, and Dickin not really making this particular easy for Moule. I'm sure he'll give it to him in the braking zone down in turn 5, but he's going to run side by side with him all the way down.
Yeah, and they are teammates. They're both driving for Change Racing and representing the Charlotte dealership, so one would have thought he might have been a bit more friendly there to his teammate, but no, it really didn't make any difference at all, I don't think. Kyle has got this race under control at the moment. He still leads by 2.5 seconds, and Jerome Moule there, he's going to push as hard as he can, but right now it's looking like 2nd place is going to be all that he can manage as the time is ticking away.
If for Kyle Marcelli, looking on the road in front of him, the next car up is Randy Solari, and Solari has exited the kink already, and Marcelli just coming out of the carousel, so Kyle Marcelli should have clear sailing all the way to the checkered flag, but it is never over until it's over, so we're not going to hand him anything just yet. But this is going to be a big, big day if they can stay in front for Kyle Marcelli and Danny Framal after the problems they had at Watkins Glen. Out of Canada corner for the last time, and Jerome Moule continuing to press, and I think he's even closed the gap a little bit more. But you think back through the 50 minutes and you think, where could I have made another pass? Where could I have made the time? And for Kyle Marcelli, Danny Framal, they think, I made the pass at the right time. I did everything I needed to do. And for Kyle Marcelli, Danny Framal, they take the win. Prestige Performance, Wayne Taylor Racing, Lamborghini Paramus, they will celebrate big time in Elkhart Lake tonight. But you can't celebrate too much because you have to do it all again tomorrow.
Yeah, leave most of the champagne for tomorrow, most likely for that team, as we see Jordan Missig is looking to, he crosses the line now in 4th position overall. An excellent run by the youngster from Joliet, Illinois. So it's Wayne Taylor Racing winning the Pro Class and the Pro-Am as well. So what a great day has been for Wayne Taylor Racing. And for Kyle Marcelli and Danny Framal, the first overall win for both of those two. Danny Framal did have a class win last season, as we see Ashton Harrison crossing the line there. 8th position overall. She will also win the AM category. So 3 class wins here for Wayne Taylor Racing. What a fabulous day for that team.
And Ashton Harrison, is pumped up. And as you said, Harrison contracting with Wayne Taylor Racing, they're going to get to celebrate. And what a great job that team has done. When you've got numerous cars under the tent, You've got a lot of information that can trade back and forth between drivers and can help everybody out, and they certainly put that to use. Now, O'Gara Motorsports, US Racetronics, John Hennessy, we said it was great to see him back in the series, and he has just been rocket ship fast in LB Cup all weekend long, and he's going to take what had been a win streak for Terry Olson and Mark Kwame, and he's going to throw that out the window because just a couple of more corners and John Hennessy will get his big boot in that accelerator, in the throttle, accelerate up the hill here at Road America. And for O'Gara Motorsport, US Racetronics, Lamborghini, San Diego, John Hennessy will celebrate his first win of the season and really only his third time out. Great job for John Hennessy.
Yeah, excellent performance by him, led from start to finish. A really commanding performance by John Hennessy from Seattle, Washington. This is his third LB Cup win. He made his debut in this championship right here at Road America last season, so this is the first track that he's kind of going to for a second time, and boy, he did a really fine job to bring home that LB Cup win in car number 33.
Really be interesting to see how the points play out after this. Kyle Marcelli, Danny Formal, they did exactly what they said they needed to do. It's exactly what Kyle Marcelli was talking about when he said, we know that the championship is out of our reach, but we want to finish the second half of the season by winning races and showing what we can do. Well, they certainly did that in their prestige performance with Wayne Taylor Racing, Lamborghini, Super Trofeo, Huracan Evo here today. But for Jerome Moule and Stephen McAleer, that good second place finish, and you got to look way down the order, 18th overall and last in the pro category. Dario Capitano and Richard Antonucci. That's going to mix things up and certainly close things up, I should say, Jeremy, in the pro points.
Very much so. In fact, what was a 14-point deficit, I reckon now it will be a 4-point deficit for Stephen McAleer to Richard Antonucci. Jerome Moule has not done the full championship because Stephen McAleer started off the year driving alongside Madison Snow, but Jerome Moule joined that team for the two most recent races, and they're going to come away with Stephen's second win of the season and just 4 points now behind Richard Antonucci going into tomorrow's race. So very much game on in the overall Pro Drivers' Championship.
Good stuff, and a little bit of revenge. It is sweet. And for Kyle Marcelli, Danny Formal, they take the victory here. Race one in the books, 100th race for Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America tomorrow from here at Road America. It should be a good one as well. And as we start the second half of the championships still very much up for grabs. Kyle Marcelli getting his belts off, getting ready to get out, and he will celebrate with Danny Formal, and they will focus forward on the plan that they had coming into this weekend, and that is win races in this second half of the championship. Kyle Marcelli out, thumbs in the air. They will celebrate. Make sure you join us for round two tomorrow from Road America. It will be the 100th race for Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. Jeremy Shaw, Brian Hill, we'll see you tomorrow.